caps. Right now we're getting into the career mode with my man Jack, and then we are joined in studio by Ntombi. Ntombi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, and yourself?
Tell us about yourself. Let's not ruin the moment of knowing who you are by reading too much into the information that we provided by the... Who's Ntombi?
Okay, Ntombi is a female pilot from Soweto.
Yeah.
I'm 36 years old. I started flying when I was 30, training when I was 30 years old. I currently work for South African Airline, but I'm not flying at the moment, so I do all their planning, so all the flight planning and all the stuff that needs to be done before the aircraft has to take off. So I'm in the operations department.
Right, and then the love for aviation. Where do you find that love for aviation?
Sure. I actually bumped into aviation. I was actually studying IT when I bumped into aviation. I saw an ad in the newspaper. They wanted air traffic controllers back in 2007. And I applied for the bursary there at a company called Air Traffic and Navigation Services, and I got the bursary. Then I started doing the training there. It takes about 6 months initially, and then I started working for them, and that's when I then was introduced to piloting and flying, and then I resigned there to pursue my career in flying.
And then your parents, do they sort of accept that you wanted to do general, let me say, aviation as a career? Because more often than not, we find our parents deeming other careers as not being careers enough, like art, like, you know, like for you going into aviation, where your parents so supportive to your career, to a sense that they gave you their blessings.
They did. They were my parents are very open-minded, so I'm very lucky in that regard. They were very supportive. They, even when I went back to flying, I had to stop working to pursue the flying training full-time, and it was very expensive to do that. So my parents were behind me and my sisters all the way. So yeah, I was very lucky in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, every Wednesday we bring someone from an industry and we ask them to help us look at the industry from the outside. And for that, so that all these kids that are upcoming can have an idea about the industry, what's required, and how best to pursue a career in, for example, at this stage, aviation. So the big question is, I mean, what's the history of aviation in SA?
The history of aviation, or basically what it is standing at right now, is there's not a lot of young black people. It's very limited because to get into, say, piloting, it's very expensive, and obviously we don't have $500,000 sitting there just waiting for you to use to go and train. But there are certain avenues one can pursue. You can get bursaries. There's a lot of government institutions that sponsor for flying. Like I was sponsored by South African Express to fly. There's an organization called TITA, it's Transport Education and Training Authority. You can get it there. The Civil Aviation Authority also sponsors pilot training. They sponsor you if you want to become a flight engineer. They sponsor you if you want to do anything within aviation and you can't afford it. Obviously, you need to have done mathematics and English so that you can qualify for these types of bursaries. But in general, like to become a pilot, you don't need to have studied mathematics if you're going to pay for yourself. But if you need a bursary, you need to then have studied those subjects in high school.
Okay, so there are minimum requirements if you're looking for a bursary, but if you've got that $500,000 and you want to pursue the career of aviation, you can do that yourself.
Absolutely.
But to give us the bigger picture, I mean, we say aviation, we say, you know, pilots, we say traffic controllers. What is aviation? Is it just like another form of transportation?
Yes, it is a form of transportation, but there is a lot of dynamics that are involved. Like I said when I started, that I am in flight control. Yeah. So what I do at the moment, while I try and get the hours, enough hours to actually start flying for the airline, because you need a certain number of hours to start flying commercially. Although I do hold a commercial pilot's license, I do all day planning. So when you walk into my office, you just see a whole lot of screens. So I'm looking at the weather, I'm looking at the route, which is the best route to fly to Cape Town, for instance. So that's what I do at the moment. Like you can become a flight attendant if you don't want to be flying the actual aeroplane. You can become a flight attendant. You can do ramping. I don't know if you guys seen those guys that are on the ground when the aircraft comes and they assist you with disembarking and they clean the aircraft. They make sure that it's ready for the next leg. So there's a whole lot of things that are involved. I mean, you can get into ticket sales, you can get into pricing, trying to understand how they get to the price for you. Why is it sometimes 500 to fly to Durban, and why is it sometimes 3,000 to fly to Durban? So there's a whole lot of dynamics within the industry that I have learned since I've been in the office, except being in the cockpit.
Okay, tell us. So, how is traffic managed in the sky? I mean, we've got robots in the streets. You know, we've got the traffic control people on the street. How is flight controlled up there?
Okay, so my introduction to aviation was in air traffic control. So
which included doing what on a daily
yeah,
basis?
so I didn't know anything about that when I applied. I was just curious. What is this air traffic control thing? So I obviously thought it's that guy that stands on the tarmac and has those lighting things to direct the aircraft when it parks, but no. So we've got airways. So it's essentially an imaginary highway in the sky. It's imaginary in the sense that you can't see it, but because of GPS points, you know it is. So for you to fly from Joburg to Cape Town, you need to follow a certain route. So you get told by the air traffic controller, who has like a radar screen. They can see, it's like a dot that they see, but they know that's the aircraft, and you speak to the air traffic controller. As the pilot, you request clearance before you even start to taxi. Taxiing is just moving from where you're parked to the runway to take off. So each and every time you do anything inside the aircraft, you're speaking to the air traffic controller, because those things are big. So sometimes you won't see another guy trying to push back, and you're trying to push back, and you can cause incidents and accidents. So for instance, when you fly down to Cape Town, you have to fly at a certain flight level.
Yeah.
Either it's an even level or an odd level. So that's how they separate traffic going down and traffic coming up. So that's just the basics of how it's done. So you essentially speaking to somebody who can see the bigger picture that you can't see. So the air traffic controller can see each and every guy that's flying within South African airspace at any time. They can tell what flight level they are, they can tell whether they're climbing or descending, so they can keep you guys, they can keep the aircraft separated and land you back safely.
Sorry. How does one get into aviation? You know, like, because I'm assuming that there's someone listening out there and thinking that, you know what, this is a career for me. How does one get into aviation?
There is a lot of, luckily for instance, the air traffic control one, it's fully sponsored. So you don't even need money for that. You just need those basic requirements that I spoke about earlier, maths and English. You don't even need science. Geography is a nice to have. It's not something that they require. And you go to their website, I think 4 or 5 times a year they recruit. So they will train you from you becoming an assistant to you finally becoming there's different types of air traffic controllers. There's ones that control you when you take off up until a certain flight level, and then they hand you over. There's guys that are sitting in Polokwane, for instance, international airport, that will land you when you get there. So they train you from zero to until you get a job. So you just have to go on their website. It's atns.co.za, www.atns.co.za to apply. There's always, just go to careers and you go to bursaries. And if you want to join, if you want to start flying, like I mentioned again, that there is certain people that do sponsor you if you don't have the money to do it. SA Express used to sponsor, but given the current situation, I don't think they are at the moment. The Civil Aviation Authority is currently running a bursary program. They take 4 or 5 people a year to train as pilots. I've got some friends who are actually trained by the Civil Aviation Authority, and SAA was doing it at some point. I think it's going to come back. So, and if you don't have the money, you can go onto the internet and just type and see which organizations are giving out bursaries at what time and what is it that they require from you.
Okay, tell us something. What's so special about having the civil aviation sponsor air traffic controllers and pilots? Why would they do that?
They mostly want to get the ordinary guy in the street who didn't know and who cannot afford to get into such careers. They're trying to push as many previously disadvantaged people into the industry, which is a very good thing in my opinion. I mean, I've been in aviation for the past 12 years now, and I've seen it grow with people that would have never thought that, for instance, they'll ever fly an aeroplane that are currently flying. So it's them just trying to give back, I guess, to the communities that were previously disadvantaged.
Is it quite hard to enter into the industry? I mean, let's think about it now, because these days we have drones. I mean, what do you think about drones being a pilot?
Oh, okay. No, I think it's a nice to have if it's used safely, because they can be a hazard. People, depending on where, like for instance, the drone is not allowed in a certain vicinity in the airport because they can interfere with the takeoffs and landings, because where those drones are flown, the aeroplane can be trying to land, and that's very dangerous. It's a very good technology. I mean, we're moving towards the fourth industrial revolution, so technically, for me, those things, they work wonders.
All right, so it's exactly 22 minutes after 2 o'clock. You're listening to Lunch on Caps. This is the career mode with Jack. We're speaking to the aviation lady here. It's Ntombi in studio with us. She's a pilot. So we're going to speak more to Ntombi just after the break. But then before we go to the break, if you want to engage with us, you can come through on all our social media platforms. That's at Caps Radio SA. It's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Or if you have any question or comment for Ntombi, you can come through on our WhatsApp line and send those voice notes. It's 081 278 5685.